Today, I will tell you an interesting story of Jesus Christ on value education for class 6. The name of the story is Jesus Calms the Storm. Let us enjoy the story. Jesus was as human as us. He felt sleepy when he was tired. Jesus stood in the boat by the lake Galilee and spoke to the people for many hours. The Sea of Galilee is known for sudden raging storms, and many of disciples of Jesus were seasoned fishermen. So, it would seem the disciples would have been prepared. But things were happening beyond their control. Jesus told his disciples to go to the other side. Jesus and his disciples got into a boat. As soon as Jesus' head touched the cushion, he fell asleep at the end of the boat. When they were in the middle of the lake, a great storm arose. Jesus knew that he was on a mission of mercy and that the Father was faithful to get him there. So he went to sleep. It was such a deep sleep that the storm did not disturb him. The disciples hurriedly rolled and tied up the sail and stopped rowing. The big waves tossed the little boat up and down. Very big waves came toppling over the sides. The boat began to sink. The disciples spent a lot of time with Jesus and saw him perform many miracles. They had a lot of faith, but in their humanity it became evident they had more faith that the storm would destroy them than in Jesus saving them. The disciples were afraid. However, Jesus was still fast asleep. The frightened disciples woke up Jesus and requested him to save them from the dangerous situation. Jesus stood up and scolded the wind and the waves. Both the wind and the waves calmed down, and the water became still. Jesus wanted to know the reason of their fear. Jesus may have rebuked the disciples for their weak faith, but he did not abandon them to let them drown. Instead, he calmed the storm and then continued to teach them who he was and demonstrated what it was to have faith in God. The disciples felt ashamed and began to wonder in awe to see one thing in front of them. They were seeing that the wind and the waves were obeying Jesus Christ. Is that clear, student? So, students, what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is God answers our prayers always. Clear? In trouble, if we ask God to save us, He would answer our prayers. Some people ask why God does not answer or does not always answer their prayers. But the fact is, God answers every prayer. Faith in a God who hears our prayers and governs nature and history in view of them is based on our faith that God really sent Jesus as the Savior of our world. Faith, in turn, is based on our conviction that God raised him from the dead on the third day. Love of God can mean either love for God or love by God. Love for God is associated with the concepts of worship and devotions towards God. The love of God purifies human hearts, and through it, human beings become transformed and self sacrificing as they reflect more the attributes and qualities of God. The essence of all religions is the love of God, and it is the foundation of all the sacred teachings. We should trust God even though it may seem like prayer does not work, even though it may seem like at the moment He is not near and has abandoned us. If we have faith and sincerely trust God, we will not be concerned as to whether the answer is wait or the answer is no or yes. We must just trust and wait and see if God in His timing will see fit to answer, as we have requested, or perhaps He has something better in mind for us. Prayer can be such a beautiful, simple thing. Everyone prays in their own style or in different way, and still our loving God hears everyone. Sometimes an answer comes right away, and sometimes we have to wait. However, there are some things we can pray for that God will always answer. Today, we have learned some values from this story. In this story, we have seen that the disciples followed Jesus. We should do the same thing every day. That means we should follow the right thing. By doing what we feel is the right thing, we focus on creating a better outside and inside, while at the same time we cut out less relevant stuff from our inner and outer life. So, we become more focused on doing that is most important to us. And as with anything, we tend to get what we give. Okay. To do the right thing means to make a choice among possibilities in favor of something the collective wisdom of humanity knows to be the way to act. The choice between what is right and what we want is particularly tough because it requires us to put down our stubbornness and hurt our own feelings. It requires us to admit that we are wrong, that we are being selfish, and that we are in over our heads. Next lesson or value is even followers of Jesus have problems. That means Just because we are the followers of Jesus does not mean that we will not have problems in our lives. On the other hand, following Jesus will give us peace even in the serious problems. Life issues are common problems, issues or crises that happen to normal people living normal lives. Everyone has problems in life. For the most for the most part, we are able to solve them quickly without much trouble. We either come up with a quick solution or use a strategy that worked in the past. Problems become more difficult when there is no obvious solution and strategies that we have tried in the past do not work. These types of problems cause a great deal of stress and anxiety and require now and different strategies. Next value is do not panic if Jesus is silent. Even though Jesus was asleep in the boat, he was very much in control of the situation. Stress is a natural feeling of not being able to cope with specific demands and events. However, stress can become a chronic condition if a person does not take steps to manage it. Okay. Stress is key for survival, but too much stress can be detrimental. But we should not panic in these remorseful conditions. We should search for the solution to reduce our stress or problem always. Next lesson is cry out for help. While it is true that disciples panicked when the storm arose, they had enough faith to do something very productive. They asked Jesus to help them. Worry is always useless, but prayer is always effective. Although we may not get exactly what we want, we will get what we need, right? Spiritual emotion gives us peace and spiritual experience of bliss. We also believe that crying is a spiritual experience that benefits from practice. It draws out our deep feelings of connection with others, sometimes in their suffering, pain, and isolation, and other times in their joy and celebration. Next lesson is learn to look back. In this story, we have seen that after Jesus calmed the storm, the fishermen were relieved. Looking back at many times, Jesus has helped us to increase our faith and help us to deal with future problems. A truth about life is we cannot change what has happened in the past. We should take the lesson from the past and focus on enjoying the present and doing the best. We should look forward to our future while the concept is beneficial. There is value in looking back at the events and experiences We have had to move forward and create a better future. Is that clear, students? So, in today's class, we have learned so many things, and now we are ending our lesson over here. Thank you.